We're Victoria,
Sean,
and Sophie. We are studying how spirit possession exists in media throughout time, and we're specifically focused on how recent TV shows teach young people, the intended audiences of these TV shows, about spirit possession. Ruthven, in the Journal of Popular Culture, argues that the phenomenon of demonic possession, which was once seen as a relic of the past, has reemerged in popular culture with a renewed fascination with possession. Ruthven goes on to argue why they think possession is being portrayed with such fervor.
For the purposes of our project, however, we will be examining the how of these depictions rather than the why. As pop culture uses possession and is fascinated with them, how do TV shows and films made for young people present this idiom to them?
Our list is not exhaustive, however. These shows' depictions of spirit possession and mediumship are fairly consistent and therefore likely present a trend in how spirit possession is exemplified to a broad young audience. After watching the clips from That's So Raven, The Powerpuff Girls, Mob Psycho, Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, Princess and the Frog, and Supernatural, we argue that their depictions of spirit possession and mediumship are spectacle-like and exotic at best and do not present the complexity, cultural context, or healing nature of these practices, as we learned about in our research and in class.
Right on.
In this clip, Raven, though she is not defined as a spirit medium, has visions that predict the future, allowing her to communicate with something, we don't know what it is, to have a kind of channeled message with knowledge that she wouldn't have otherwise known, like the guest speakers in our classes. In Possession and Exorcism in Popular Culture, edited by Christina Francis, D.B. Jones, and S.R. Wong, they argue that possession is usually in pop culture associated with horror. However, possession can also be viewed through a more sympathetic lens, as a means of spiritual enlightenment and transformation. In Raven's case, she is being enlightened with a knowledge that she wouldn't have already known, and this knowledge allows her to transform the outcome of the future. Like how Stephanie channeled Arya and how Lorenzo was able to access information about the past, possession in Raven's case serves to inform and enlighten. At the same time, though, her presentation is quite superficial, as there is no explanation for her powers and abilities as a medium, as opposed to people like Arya, Lorenzo, and the woman in the Balinese trance seance, Alice Nona, and others we read about in class.
Mojo will save you! Ooh, Mojo needs to hit the gym more.
Aha! Bliss! You're free!
What happened?
Me was him!
And him was you!
And you was him? And who was me?
Me was him!
Him was you?
And I'm confused.
In this clip of the Powerpuff Girls, Bliss is possessed by him, a devil who is the king of darkness. And after the possession is over, she can't remember what happened, which relates to the amnesia people claim after possession experiences that we've learned about in class, such as in the cases of the Hauka in West Africa, Mama Lola in New York, the medium in the Balinese trance seance, and more. This depiction of possession is very straightforward and an act of control, which relates to how our secondary sources characterize possession as negative and demonic ways to express power over others. In Exorcism in Contemporary American Culture by Joanna E. Ruff, in the Journal of Popular Culture, she notes that the central fear that the exorcist addresses is that of losing control. As such, it remains a powerful and disturbing evocation of contemporary anxieties. Just as the little girl in The Exorcist is controlled by an evil outside force, so too is Bliss in this clip from the Powerpuff Girls. There is a sense that all possession is negative in this example from pop culture, and it is an evil way to control rather than to heal, protest current conditions, or express feelings in a publicly accepted idiom. In addition, this clip exhibits a phenomenon we've talked about in class, amnesia after being possessed. Clint Tibbs, in the article Possession Amnesia Patterns of Experience, Evidence for Spirits, discusses patterns of possession amnesia that occur cross-culturally and transhistorically as possible evidential support for the existence of spirits. Tibbs writes about the common occurrence of amnesia and how it is related to spirit possession events, just as it is in this Powerpuff Girls video.
Nani? 体を操作できない。
あ、どこに消えた？エクボ。
俺様の霊力が弱まっているせいだ。ちしゃー。今日は。
憑依。はい、それではどうぞ。かかってこいってか。こっちはよろしいのだ。
おまんな、ビビってんじゃねえ。動け。
強めに行くぞ。
チャンス
This clip begins with Dimple, the green spirit, attempting to possess Ritsu and ultimately failing. Later on in the clip, we see Ritsu allowing himself to become possessed in exchange for the use of supernatural abilities to enhance his fighting. This depiction of possession leading to garnering supernatural abilities is similar to what we have seen in the case of the Haka, where we see people do similar things like eat glass as well as light themselves on fire. It is also similar to the class video, The Living Gods of Haiti, where people act abnormal in ways to prove that they are in fact possessed by certain Loa. When discussing the way Grimm's fairy tales influence the storytelling of witchcraft and spirit possession today, Henry Karsh wrote that the attractiveness of these tales depends to a large extent on their tendency to dramatize the receipt of the desirable rewards for those who conform. In the case of Mob Psycho, although people are being possessed, they have the rewards of special abilities and strengths from possession, and the dramatization of this entertains readers with the spectacle of possession rather than delving into how possession actually works.
Where are we? Looks to me like a place for voodoo rituals. But why don't we just ask Lena?
What are you talking about?
Her story about Simone getting dragged by zombies wasn't true. I saw the footprints of Simone's heels. She wasn't dragged. She walked down that tunnel.
Very clever, Velma, but it's too late.
Sorry, Freddy. I really do like you.
Joel! What would you do if you didn't like me? Hey! Oh.
Voodoo dolls.
These wax dolls do come in handy.
So, that's where the cleaning cloth for my glasses went. Sorry, I suspected you.
Apology accepted.
The harvest moon will soon reach the midnight point on this moon dial, and then the ceremony will begin.
What ceremony?
In this Scooby-Doo clip, there are voodoo dolls and references to zombies who drain the life force from victims who come to the island to preserve immortality. This is similar to the demonic assault that occurs in the Dominican Republic, where matresas come into the minds of men and force them to have sex, acting as malevolent female figures who prey on the men. In addition, the voodoo dolls in this clip are similar to the magic law of similarity and law of contact we discussed in class. Velma says, "So that's where the cleaning cloth for my glasses went," when she sees the voodoo doll of her, and it implies that because the doll has something that Velma has touched, as well as her likeness, different voodoo practices are able to attack and affect her. More directly, this clip illustrates exotic depictions of Haitian voodoo in Louisiana. A.M. McGee's article, Haitian Vodou and Voodoo, Imagined Religion and Popular Culture, argues principally an invention of Hollywood, of the travel writers long before that, voodoo has the power in the imaginations of many, in spite of the fact that it has little or no basis in fact. Though voodoo dolls exist, there is no factual basis or elaboration as to what these dolls are, or how they really work, or where they came from, or the traditions associated with them. Instead, they are eye-catching, entertaining, and ultimately spectacle-like. In Western pop culture, as seen in Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, zombies are the product of voodoo. Sarah Juliet Lauro's Zombie Love, The Romance of the Undead explains that zombies are not simply victims of voodoo curses, nor are they purely biological phenomena. They are also cultural icons that reflect contemporary fears, desires, and social issues. The zombies in this clip are meant to be frightening to the Scooby-Doo characters, and though these beings are usually scary, the clip does not delve into why, or any of the cultural context that would lead to such fears.
Charms, potions, dreams made real. Ashitanza.
Were I a betting man, and I'm not, I stay away from games of chance. I'd wager I'm in the company of visiting royalty.
Lawrence, this remarkable gentleman has just read my palm.
Or this morning's newspaper. Sire, this chap is obviously a charlatan. I suggest we move on to a less...
Don't you disrespect me, little man. Don't you derogate or deride. You're in my world now, not your world. And I got friends on the other side. That's an echo, gentlemen. Just a little something we have here in Louisiana. A little parlor trick, don't worry. Sit down at my table. Put your minds at ease. If you relax, it will enable me to do anything I please. I can read your future. I can change it around some too. I look deep into your heart and soul. You do have a soul, don't you, Lawrence? Make your wildest dreams come true. I got voodoo, I got hoodoo, I got things I ain't even tried. And I got friends on the other side.
He's got friends on the other side.
The cards, the cards, the cards will tell. The past, the present, and the future as well. The cards, the cards. Just take 3. Take a little trip into your future with me. Now you, young man, are from across the sea. You come from 2 long lines of royalty. I'm a royal myself on my mother's side. Your lifestyle's high, but your funds are low. You need to marry a little honey whose daddy got dough. Mom and Dad cut you off, huh, Playboy?
Sad but true.
Now y'all gotta get hitched, but hitching ties you down. You just want to be free, hop from place to place. But freedom takes green. It's the green, it's the green, it's the green you need. And when I looked into your future, it's the green that I seen. On you, little man, I don't want to waste much time. You've been pushed around all your life. You've been pushed around by your mother and your sister and your brother. And if you was married, you'd be pushed around by your wife. But in your future, the you I see is exactly the man you always wanted to be. Shake my hand. Come on, boys. Won't you shake a poor sinner's hand? Yeah. Are you ready? Are you ready? Transformation Central. Transformation Central. Reformation Central. Reformation Central. Transmogrification Central. Can you feel it? You're changing, you're changing, you're changing, all right. I hope you're satisfied. But if you ain't, don't blame me. You can blame my friends on the other side. Now what you wanted? What you lost, what you
Set in Louisiana like Scooby-Doo, this song from Princess and the Frog features Dr. Facilier, or the Shadow Man, as he sings about his abilities to communicate with spirits and make deals with them. This ties into the broader theme of spirit possession in media, as it portrays the idea of humans communicating with spirits and using their powers to achieve their goals, such as in the Mob Psycho clip. This song also explores the consequences of making deals with spirits and the dangers that come with it. Doctors Facilier Voodoo Emporium demonstrates how burns in political polarization and demonic possession, how American culture is haunted by its own fascination with good and evil, argues. Interestingly, the impact these ideological extremes hold on American culture, resulting from political polarization, extends its haunting influence into the horror genre, specifically in the form of depictions of demonic possession. In this song, demonic possession is very apparent and menacingly haunting, though our project does not have the time or space to get into the political implications of such a representation. This representation in itself is very one-note and haunting. As Dr. Facilier reads the future from tarot cards, he also exhibits the non-inspirational magic we've discussed in class, and it casts a dark and negative light. His discussion of transformation further indicates a connection to the Loa and voodoo that we discussed in many class readings and videos like Mama Lola and the Living Gods of Haiti, as well as dramatic elements in ritual possession and Bourguignon's introduction to possession. Despite these connections, Dr. Facilier's representation of voodoo is one-dimensional, evil, and entertaining, making it a spectacle. Pierre states in I Got Voodoo, I Got Hoodoo that when Felicia reads the tarot cards, they jump to life in a classic flipbook style, replying on a sleight of hand to present Felicia as a morally gray and dark character. Pires argues that Disney wanted to cash in on ethnographically attested features of Afro-dysphoric religions while painting morality in black and white terms. Such a representation is not only racist, but it puts voodoo, in the case of this clip, as an evil and superficially represented religion, despite the catchy song. Of course, TV shows and movies are meant to be entertaining. Yet the lack of information and the way this movie characterizes voodoo is harmful as it exoticizes the practice to make money and bring in viewers rather than representing voodoo accurately.
What the hell?
You can't do this! Get away!
What's happening?
Today's your lucky day, kid.
Damn! Help! I need help!
I can't explain it. The edema's vanished. The internal contusions are healed.
In this clip from Supernatural, a demon is taking possession of a girl who uses their supernatural power to send Dean's spirit back to his body. Dean has no memory of his out-of-body experience like many of the possessed individuals we have gone over in class. In L. Kinsel's article, You're My True Vessel, Knowledge and Digital Fan Culture Discussed on the Basis of Mediumship and Possession in Supernatural's Narrative and Fandom, the author writes that mediumship and possession are depicted in two ways in the show. First, for an angelic, demonic, and spirit possession, the human body is only a so-called vessel, a container for the supernatural entity. These supernatural beings are able to possess nearly every human being. Though there are some restrictions, angels need the consent of the human being, for example. Being or becoming a vessel in Supernatural is mostly a negative or at least ambivalent event because the supernatural beings possessing the human body are almost always demonic or ambivalent creatures, like vengeful spirits or evil angels. With this article in mind, this last clip for our project exemplifies how possession in media can be light or dark. However, it is mostly dark and demonic. Like many of these videos and readings from our class, the body is the vessel or mount of the spirit it controls, like in Haitian voodoo, sour possession, and other kinds of possession in which negative spirits makes a person sick or act out, as demonstrated by the young girls in Madagascar, the maîtresses in the Dominican Republic, among others. This clip also illustrates possession amnesia, as discussed before with the Powerpuff Girls, Tibbs' research article, and many readings from our class, thereby adding to the list of spirit possession moments in which people do not know what's happening to them.
By studying how different television shows and movies normally geared towards children but watched by a broad audience represent spirit possession and mediumship, it is clear that, on a whole, these depictions are superficial, negative, and spectacle-like.
These clips illustrate a biased and incomplete way to think about possession that makes it a negative and scary spectacle versus something that can be therapeutic or a legitimate occupation like we've talked about in class. These examples do not include possession as something that can heal, that can act as a means of protest, or that is an accepted public idiom for distress. As a result, these examples do not delve into the complexity and nuance behind spirit possession and mediumship as they present the two to a young audience.
Of course, entertainment is important when it comes to TV, as it is how people get views and make money. However, it is one thing to be entertaining and another to misinform, generalize, and exaggerate the exoticism and spectacle of spirit possession in a dramatic fashion. We've learned in class that spirit possession is complicated and exists in different practices, manifestations, and cultures across the world. Within the public idiom of possession and nuances that follow, it is clear that such a complicated version of possession and mediumship does not appear in recent pop culture that is obviously meant to represent them. As such, going forward from this class into the future, we as the presenters of this project and students in this class know better and can point out possession when we see it represented faithfully and wrongly, and we can educate others on what possession means, both in popular context and elsewhere.